Chris Broussard and Damian Lillard had a beef that was going to be sizzling hot, and then immediately cooled off.
Yeah,
it's like when you accidentally put water all over your steaming hot pan,
and it just fizzles.
And it just fizzles away.
Yeah. Makes a cool sound. You think that it's going to be all hot, but then it just fizzles.
Smoke and mirrors, people. Smoke and mirrors. Chris Broussard had this to say on Fox Sports Radio about Damian Lillard. He said, "Paul George, if you go to the Lakers and you don't win, you might not make an all-star team. You might be Damian Lillard." Damian Lillard responded with, "Chris, let's talk about this." It's like, come here, son.
Let me have a word in your ear.
What'd you say about your mom at this time? Can't be mean to her. Lillard also had this to say in regards to someone who quote tweeted that one that he sent out, but is he wrong though? You just padding your stats, but not really because you in a packed Western Conference, which I have no idea what he was getting at. So Lillard explained padding stats equals losing and getting numbers. Hooping means making the playoffs every year and the stats say you're a big reason, which in Damian Lillard's case is true. Yeah. And then Broussard's quote in regards to why he wanted to elaborate more, because they settled this in like an hour. "For me, it's not about the All-Star game," said Lillard to Broussard and Mark Willard, so that should actually say Damian Lillard on the bottom, my bad. "My thing is this, you said if he goes to the Lakers and they lose, then he's gonna have a hard time making the All-Star game. The last 4 years, I haven't been a loser, so my question is, why was my name mentioned or used for that example? The production has always been there. We've been in the playoffs." Broussard later went on to explain that it was simply in his way trying to justify why Paul George shouldn't go to the Lakers. What I find amazing about this is the All-Star team doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
you might not be an All-Star, Paul George. Oh no, what if you're not an All-Star? Oh, you'd be Damian Lillard, one of the most beloved players in the NBA.
Yeah.
God forbid you're Damian Lillard.
Sometimes I need to be reminded as to why you got so upset when it comes to the All-Star game, and it's just so. And this is a reminder of it, because this guy's using this as an attribute to justify why someone shouldn't go somewhere. You're not going to be an All-Star, meaning you should really reconsider if you want to go to the Lakers. As if that's going to be a reason why he'd want to go to further his All-Star status. Pretty sure it's a career-changing move that he wants to go to a team that he has stated he loved for a long time, and many people expected to go to. And saying that you might become Damian Lillard, I'm pretty sure that's a good compliment. That was like when Marco Rubio said that Bernie should be the president of Sweden. Pretty fucking good compliment. I don't imagine that his country was like, Sweden? Oh shit, my free healthcare plans and free education plans would work there. So it's like, what is, like, it's just a stupid thing to put forward as an argument. And Damian Lillard responding might not have been my way of, I think Damian Lillard's the type of character that he doesn't let a lot of things get under his skin, but I think that one kind of did, but he's responded in the way that you'd expect him to respond. His team in a packed conference that has squad depth out the ass, and the teams like Golden State Warriors who are adding all-stars to an already all-star team, he's done pretty well to get that team through the play. After they lost their second powerful man right next to Damian Lillard, they had LaMarcus Aldridge, and both of them made that franchise look like they could be competing. I mean, you lose him to one of the bigger teams in the Spurs, I think he's done a pretty good job to maintain a certain standard and still get Rip City into the playoffs and still give them games for the fans to go and watch and enjoy. Are they going to get any further unless they add weaponry? No. But they've still got to a position where many other teams would probably rather be. They beat the Clippers, and the Clippers had a far better squad depth than they had. They managed to compete with a team that on paper are demolishing everyone. So I think it's pretty ridiculous to assume that calling someone Damian Lillard is an insult in a way, because that's the way that was framed to me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think if you were to poll the audience of any major news network, ESPN or Fox Sports, and they go like, would you want to be Damian Lillard in a yes or no question, I think everyone would be like, yeah, that sounds great.
He raps,
got a rap career?
Yeah.
Are you kidding? I'm always the underdog, and I always prove people why I shouldn't be considered the underdog. He's got the range of Steph Curry. He's got handles like that of Jamal Crawford. He's able to drive, dish. He's a great point guard. Unfortunately, he plays in Western Conference where there's too many really great point guards. Harden and Westbrook are, yes, more worthy of an All-Star game than Damian Lillard, but in the case of why it's a fan vote and why it frustrates me, it's like that's why you shouldn't be using the All-Star game as an accolade. I don't think Damian Lillard cares as much about the All-Star game as Chris Broussard does. I don't think Paul George cares about the All-Star game as much as Chris Broussard does. In the case of Paul George, You have a, well, what have you done for me lately? And that the Indiana Pacers management has done literally nothing for him. Although I have criticized Paul George, and I think rightfully, because he has not necessarily met, I think at one point he met them halfway. I think there was a point where Paul George really liked being on the Indiana Pacers. And of course, as I've always said, winning fixes everything. But how he's also treated the idea of telling his teammates that he wasn't going to be here, that he wanted to be traded, and how obvious he's made it, it's a very toxic situation if Paul George does come back to Indiana for his last season. He really does need to go. I would think the Lakers are a really good place to go. I think the Celtics are a good place to go too in terms of the PG rumors. Hey, I bet Damian Lillard would take you with open arms.
No doubts. I don't think that he would. I think that's the type of player actually would really pose an interesting combo.
That would be fun, yeah, it would be really fun.
A fun team to watch. But I'm just going to double down on the point, not just the fact that the Western Conference is stacked with point guards, it's the most dominant position in the NFL.
Yes.
It's the most dominant position in the NFL right now. You get Cam Newton playing there. You've got, no, it's the most dominant position in the NBA. It produced two of the most remarkable talents we've seen in years, competing for an MVP prize this year, which again, I don't think any of them care that much about, but they still were there head on against each other. And they also produced the MVP last year in Steph Curry, who was draining from every single position imaginable, led his team to another conference final. It's a stacked position to compete with, but the fact that he doesn't get into the All-Star game, I don't think bothers him. I think he's just looking to try and do what he can in amidst a division that is producing some of the best point guards that we've seen who are able to do things and adapt with the game. Damian Lillard fits the mold of what point guards should be doing, I think, in today's NBA, which is he scores first. And he's got the ability to pass, and he's got a great range, and he's able to produce. But we're forgetting there's also John Wall, there's also Kyrie Irving, there's also Giannis Antetokounmpo. Jesus Christ,
that was good.
I still got his pronunciation.
That was good.
2 weeks away does not
that was good.
harm my pronunciation.
Here's the thing, with Damian Lillard, I think he's always held his own against the point guards that are, sure, better than him. He doesn't shy away from the challenge. He doesn't complain. He's about the team. He's as much Portland as anybody I've ever seen. In terms of a player whose number is sure to be retired in X amount of years, Damian Lillard is right up there.
Yep.
City loves him. He embraces the city. Sure. Don't go at Damian. You want to be. That's a compliment. Maybe Chris Broussard in all of this really meant like, you'd be Damian Lillard. That's the greatest compliment I can ever give anybody.
I would love if Damian Lillard came out with a diss track.
Oh.
Michelle.
Yes.
Do it.
Yes.
Drop down.